Welcome back. Today we will take a look at trees inside the Carrara. Let's open this golf scene. This scene came with Carrara. If you go to browser window, there is a golf scene here. Just double click on it and it will open here inside the sample room. Here we are looking at the terrain and plants. So if you click on the plants, you can see we have a plant builder here, editor. So what we will do is we are going to render this whole scene. We will do a quick render, so that way it will not take longer. We will keep it small size, and in the rendering side make sure that GI and skylight are disabled, because it will add to a render time if we enable these parameters. We can keep gamma to maybe 2. We can use best here or good, or in our case we can just keep it fast. And let's click on the render button here. So it looks like the scene is done. It has been rendered. It was a quick render. I'm just moving it so you can see it. Okay, so let's close that. I saved it. Go to sample room, close this whole window here. Then choose this forest scene, double click on that. Go to the render. So let's click on render to see how this scene looks like. Okay, so our render is done. As you can see, this nice scene here. It was basically rendered in Carrara, and everything was designed inside Carrara using terrain editor or terrain builder or terrain primitive, and also tree primitives and some shaders, and then we can see sky there. So I'm going to save this file. So let's close this, go to sample room, and we will close this window here. And then let's take a look at last scene. Let me double click on that. So here we go. So let's render that scene too. Very fast, very small resolution. So it was very fast with small resolution. We can also go click here, go to the rendering, choose the settings, for example full ray tracing for higher quality. We will keep it fast, no GI and skylight, indirect light, other things. Output size, I would like to increase that a little bit to 1920, and then close this one and render it again. Done here with the rendering. And this tree was also designed inside Carrara from scratch. Although it doesn't have nice texture, but we can always put a nice textures there. I'm going to save this one. So in Carrara, we actually can design trees from scratch. We can also create our own leaves too as a regular Carrara 3D models, or we can import from other 3D packages and then save as a Carrara file. So basically leaves are created as a polygons, and you can apply realistic texture or just the color for prototyping or quick render. So let me click on one of these tree. So I'm going to double click on this tree here. Master means it's our main object, not the instance. So it's a main primary object. So I will just go and edit that, and here you can see it is opened inside plant modeler or primitive. So we can render it. Right now we are taking a look at the trunk. So before we explore these properties, I would like to start from scratch with the simple default plant. It is also recommended to use, as per Carrara manual, it is recommended to use existing presets. For example, we have some trees that came with Carrara, so we can start with any of these one and modify it according to our liking. So that is kind of a recommended way to do it, but you can also design from scratch if you want. So let's click on File, New. Medium scene will be fine. We can either click here on the plant icon and then place the tree wherever we want. So we can also go inside the insert menu and select plants. So plant primitive. So here we have our default tree. It's very simple. Textures are not, it doesn't have nice textures. Here what we are seeing is a view from the director's camera. From the director's camera we can see a view here. We can use this dolly button to rotate. We are currently looking at the trunk. We can take a look at all the other options, and then we have these track buttons. We can also use them to move around our camera. So currently it is showing us a trunk. This is a randomness. We can shuffle it to have random tree generated for us. By default it is using a centered generator. There are other two types of generators that we can see, but right now we are using a centered tree generator. Okay, so we are in a trunk and generation. So generation basically is a count of the branches. So let me show you. If I make it 0, then we have trunk. So trunk is a 0 generation of branch. Then if I take it to 1, so we have other branches growing. And then if I do second, it's a third generation basically. And then we can take a look at all the branches. So here you can see, if I reduce that to 1, you see the others branches are gone. And then if we do 0, it's back to the trunk. So normally we keep it 1 to 2. So in this case, let's keep it 1, which means 2 generation, plants and then branches. So it's a trunk, which is a mother branch, and then child branches. And then this is the size of the tree. So here actually, this is a view of our sample room scene. On the right side, this is a view, and we can enable full detail mesh if you want. I'm still going to change generation count to 2. That way it will look nicer. Here we can disable it. Normally it is advised to keep them disabled so that all the workflow and the process is fast, because trees take a lot of polygons and memory. The more complex the trees are, the more time it will take to render. And here is a shuffle button. We can try to shuffle it. So, and then we can take a look at different components of the tree, like leaf, branch, trunk, all branches, and then we have roots, and then we can take a look at the whole tree. Then we can click a render button. So texture is very simple right now. That's why it's not looking as nice. But we can always modify, as I mentioned, we can update the textures or shaders. So let's keep it, at the trunk level, the view at the trunk level, and go to trunk here. So let me show you some of the options which are available. I'm going to minimize this animation. Let's keep it like that. So here we can adjust the width. In the trunk section, we can adjust the width of the trunk. And also there's a tip button. We click on that, you can see that tip disables and enables. So right now tip is enabled and it is viewable, but when we click it again, so tip is gone. So we can adjust that from here. The width, as I showed you, we can use a width parameter to adjust the width of the trunk. Then decay actually basically shows how the tree branches get decayed. They become thinner and thinner. So we can adjust that here. Then we have a trunk length. So if we do that, you will see that length of the trunk is increasing. Just keep it reasonable, maybe like that. And then trunk angle, we can adjust the angle of the trunk. Then base curve, we can add some curves here. Okay, maybe that is probably better. Let me take a look. Okay, I think it should be fine, but make it a little straight here. Then we have elasticity. This basically it makes tree more elastic. Then here we have phyllotaxy angle. Basically, see the branches, how they are centered around the mother branch, which is a trunk. So it defines that angle. Normally we keep it 137, but we can change it if you want. So let's render it. Let's render it as a tree. Okay. So then we can add symmetry, variability, symmetry, enable or disable. Let's keep it. And then we have internode length, the distance between the branches. We can also adjust that between two branches. Then we have roots here. So here you can see the size of the bottom of the trunk is increasing with the flare setting parameter. Then root definition adds more polygons to make it smooth. So lobes, basically how many roots this plant has. So lobes is basically number of roots, and then we have a depth here. Okay, so this concludes the trunk section. So now go to the branches. Here we can adjust the length modifier. So you can see how the length of the branches is being affected. Then we have angle modifier, so it also helps in angle. So angle modifier helps in adjusting the angle between the branches. Then we can add for the smoothness here. Then let's go to the leaf. It's very simple leaf built inside the Carrara. So generation of leaves, how many generation we want. Normally keep it 1. Then angle around branches, we can also adjust that here. Let's keep it like this. Then we have evolution, so we can also define that here. And leafless margins. So these are the margins or the areas at the top and the bottom of the branch where we have no trees. So we can define that here if we want to do that. We can do that here. So right now distribution of branches is symmetrical. We can change it to alternate, spiral, and then we can also use random. Let's keep it symmetric in this case. And the leaf on the branch end, do we want or not, and the number of leaves, we can adjust that here. And leaf size, we can definitely increase that. If you want to make some prehistoric trees, you can do that. Then this area defines the evolution, and then we have elasticity, which helps in distribution. Then leaf orientation, we can adjust that. Let's keep it more realistic, like maybe this. And then twist in the leaf, we can also adjust that. Then gravity, basically when gravity is applied, so you can see the direction of the leaves changes. So it can be positive and negative. So downwards is here and upwards is here. So it's just the force, which is being applied to bend the angle. And then we have shape of the foliage. So cylindrical, half cylindrical, there are a lot of options here. Conical, spherical, hemispherical. Let's keep it maybe cylindrical. Just take a look at the tree now just to see how it looks. It's just a very rough version, doesn't look as nice. The quantity probably needs to be reduced. We can also, as I mentioned, we can also load our own custom leaves that we normally draw as a polygon. We apply some texture and then we use it. So we can have fruits, and if you are decorating a tree, you can have ornaments like here leaf 2, leaf 3, different same settings are available for all these leaves. Right now we have one leaf only. We can remove it, clear it, so tree will be without leaves. And the tree shape is like right now it's half cylindrical, and recursion is basically used by the tree generator. There are different types of tree generators. These are procedural trees. So recursion basically will try to apply the algorithm many times. And these settings are used for animation. Let me quickly show you that animation. So we can define gravity, speed of the wind, direction of the wind here, and rustle frequency, and additional smoothness, to add some smoothness. So let's try to play it. And here you can see you can render it. And the other good thing is that the trees that we generate here, we can use them as a reference to build our own models from scratch, which is very time consuming. But if you really want very low poly models, then we can do that. So basically you can use Carrara tree primitive to conceptualize a tree as a reference, and then use it as a billboard or to create your own trees from scratch. So that is also available. But designing realistic trees is not that easy. This thanks to plant primitive, it really helps us to do that quickly. And also during the timeline, you can add different type of keyframes. For example, at 2 seconds, change the direction of the wind and then see how it goes, and probably gravity. And you see the keyframe here. Let's see what happens now. So that was animation component here. Then we have experts. So there are different generations. So we will just be in a generation 1. You can define it for different types of generations. Right now we have 2 generations here. So we can go to generation 1 and 2 and adjust the prop. So width, basically just the width of the branches. And then we have variability. We have some randomness, evolution. So, and then decay, you know, how they thin out with the passage of time. And we have a length ratio. See, it's a huge branches here now. By increasing that length, and curve also can be changed. Elasticity for distribution, evolution you can always change back here. So evolution in this case basically is helping to it helps to increase and decrease of the angle under which the child branches are grown along the mother branch. Then we have end angle. See, it's very funny looking. You can adjust that if you want to do that, and then we can also reset to the same. So that was a quick introduction, and we can download our own, as I mentioned, our own presets here, and also leaves. So for example, if you want to add some other leaf, just click on the leaf button here and choose the leaf that you want to add. So you can see multiple here. So you can have some fruits, you know, things like that. As per Carrara manual, it is recommended to basically use pre-built trees and then modify them. So for example, you can load some presets here. Like let me choose one of the complex one, like willow tree here. Import the shader. It's quite tall, and it is using hybrid tree generator. So it's good to learn, you know, how it was generated. When you go to the tree, you can see how it looks like here. It's one of the complex tree. You can define all the settings here. Those we discussed those settings earlier in this video. So like width of the trunk, for example, is one example. So yes, and then you can load your own leaves here. So for example, if you have some fruits, and we have leaf 2 and leaf 3, so you can add those variations. So or you can mix and match different shaders of the same type of leaf. So for example, if you have let me go to the leaves here, just for you can see the mixture of trees. So here you can see mixture of different leaves, 2 leaves, and you can have fruits there. If you want to do that, it is possible. Right now it is showing oak here, and then we have tree shape here. Alright, so let's do one thing here. So we will go back to the assembly room, we are going to close this. We are going to create a quick leaf here. So let's go to the vertex modeler object here. Let's use oval. Create that. I think this is good enough. Important for texturing, since it's a plane, we will choose planar. If you want to split by orientation on the z-axis upward, we can do that. And okay, so it is done here. So we go back in the edit mode here. Okay, so now we have a default shader here. Let's name it a leaf, and then also name of the shader, I'm going to change that to leaf 2. You can see the instance where we are using it. The thing I would like to do is double click on this one, go to the global and change the texture to leaf too, so it just helps, you know, the naming wise. But the pivot is here, so we want the pivot to be on this side. So let's go to the top view and try to, and then click the cap lock at this side. I think it's fine now. Okay, so let's go change the shader here. We can just use a color here if you want. We can just say in you know, so by default we have a multi-channel shader at the top level, and then we have color. So let's make it a I would say let's make it a color gradient. Change the color to something like greenish. Like this. Yeah, similar to that. Okay, so yeah, add that, and then alpha highlights if you want. Highlight, maybe just keep it like this. Shininess little bit. Okay, bump, let's see if you want to add some type of noise here, just this one will be fine. Probably brightness less, pattern density. Okay, and then I think that will be fine. Let's go here to a quick render. So here is our leaf, very simple. So we are going to save it as a Carrara file. So I'm going to go and save this one. I'm going to call it leaf, or I can call it custom leaf. Custom leaf, and save. Okay. So I copied that leaf in the Carrara's data folder under leaves. So it's done. So let's close that. Let's click new. Let's build a default tree. Go to load. Actually, we just keep it like that and go to the leaf. Clear this one and load our own custom one. I named it custom leaf. Okay. So here is our custom leaf. See. So if we render it, here we go. So we can see we can choose all branches here. Actually, all, let's do the tree here and do a quick render. So here is our tree with that custom basically leaf. So that is possible. Okay, so next thing we will do is let's do one thing. Let's export this guy in the Unity engine, and let's do it without leaf. So I'm going to clear it and just go to just have a little bit bend, you know, and more branches. So generation count I'm going to increase. Okay, like that. Maybe it's too much. Maybe 3 is fine, or even 2. Okay, let's do 3 and go to branches here. Lengthwise increase them. Trunk maybe a little bit increase it. Flare for the root, you know, lobes and lobes depth, we can do that. Trunk angle, let's do that, and the base curve. Okay, so yes, I guess this is good enough. We can increase it to 6 meter, for example. That would be good enough. And then we go choose it here, and then we can export it as a let's export as a FBX file. So we will export it as FBX file. Click OK. So we can use different formats here like Photoshop, PNG. So okay, so let's go to Unity and try to use open this tree there. So we are in a Unity right now. So I'm going to basically go and copy this tree inside the Unity. Then I'm going I'm looking at the folder right now, and I'm going to drag that here. Here is our basic tree. These are, you know, the vertices and all that. So it's still not as complex because trees can go really complex. This one just shows 1578 vertices. So I was looking at one of the game Far Cry. They had these type of trees. This is similar to that in that game. So we can always adjust those. So we will have some training for texturing later on, but at least it gives you a start here about creating your own trees. So let's insert game object here. So I'm going to move it here. Okay. So you can see what I'm going to do here. Go here, set a plane here. Okay, so let's move it here. And then we will drag our tree there. Plant actually. So yes, this is how we got, how we get our tree inside Unity and the shape curve. You can see that. See you guys next time. Bye.